All right, welcome to Talking Investing. I believe we are live. I'm Tom,
I'm George,
and we're doing
and we're all right.
Feels like another one of those days, doesn't it?
Dude, I saw it hit 39.
It's in the 39s right now as we speak. Bitcoin is 39,772.
Really? Oh, wow.
Under 40. Not a great day
Well,
for Bitcoin.
as we watch everybody get here, or wait for everybody to get here, why do you think this is happening, Tom?
Well, I wish I could tell you. I don't know. There's always 100 reasons, but it started to become clear if you watched my update yesterday. I was not feeling good about it. So feels like we're going to go retest a couple of these lines, and we're pretty close to one right now. So we may, maybe we'll get lucky, and this is the line. Let me pull up the. Let's go to the video. Oh, yep. So I don't know. Can you guys see the screen? So we just went, we literally oh, that's a day. Let me get to some 4 hours or something. Yeah, we just went from this line. So we tested this line for a long time. It did not hold, and we just zipped right down to this one. We'll see if that one holds.
What's the next one after that?
37.4.
I hate to tell everybody that
You feeling
way down there.
37.4?
Nope, I've always called mine 29.
Oh, you're still at. You're on this one right here. This
Yep.
is. I'm gonna label this George.
Yeah. Maximum fear. Maximum fear.
Oops.
It's George. I've been predicting that for for a long time.
I know. That's your line. Now it's labeled. That's the George line.
And it isn't any other reason except maximum fear. Maximum
Weston.
fear. Maximum fear.
Hey,
Fear.
Eric.
Hey, Netherlands.
Hey, JJT.
So, Tom,
Yeah.
we didn't see any other Bitcoiners. I don't even know if they were really at the convention, guys. Some people are saying they were there. I'm thinking they just had backdrops, pictures.
I tried to do my homework last night, and the big ones, Cryptos Are Us, which is I am George, we are all George. He said he was there the whole time, and BitBoy said he was there the whole time, but we didn't see either one of them, and we were kind of looking around. So,
Dude, we were like out there. We didn't like hide in the corner. We were there almost the whole time.
yeah,
It was insane.
yeah, we were.
Well, it was a really good time. Don't get me wrong. What was your takeaways? My biggest takeaway is ESG before he takes it.
Well,
I think ESG was made to keep the miners down, personally. That's what Tom and I were talking about at lunch today.
there's no doubt one of the big takeaways I got from that is that, and this was pretty much echoed by every CEO of the Bitcoin mining companies, and who's the guy from PayPal? Peter Thiel. He said ESG is, it's something made up just to attack Bitcoin. And hey, Rob. And I don't know if that's true, but I do know that it is definitely, there's a lot of misinformation out there. And if you guys have watched my videos, I've been trying to show like who's green, who isn't green, and the word on the street is that the Bitcoin miners are ruining the world, and they feel. Jamie at Hut 8 said we feel this is a coordinated attack on the Bitcoin miners.
They also said there was what, $16 trillion on the sideline right now to be
There's
invested.
there's $16 trillion under what is called this ESG money, most of which is Fink's money over there at BlackRock. That's 11 trillion of it right there. That aren't going to be invested unless people are ESG compliant. But by the same token, they're invested in Marathon and Riot, but they're not invested in Bitfarms and Hut 8 and Hive. So, they're a contradiction to themselves, in my opinion.
Just back over 40,000. So see, might be good.
Come on, hold the line.
Did you ever think? Side note: did you ever think Bit Farms and DigiHost would have closed at the exact same number?
Yeah, that's funny. That's a funny coincidence. It is. Bitfarms at $3.11 is absolute insanity.
Why did you take any? Why did you take any off of your crypto?
Oh, I just need to scroll up.
Oh, I want to see what they did.
They recovered. They were way down and they ended up green.
Really?
Yeah, they were at $1.60 something.
How?
And I don't know. Somebody doesn't take much with their micro cap. So all it takes is, and it was on low trading volume. 4.67's their average, although I think that's very skewed. If you go like this, that's skewed by a few days that were like monumentally out of control. Yeah, this 54 million is, so 4 million is their normal trading volume. You can see they're consistently getting 3 or 4 million. So they had a normal trading day, and I don't know why. If you look at the chart, I mean, they were down all morning, and then they just ended pretty much at their high of the day as Bitcoin was dropping. So, but that puts them at $120 million market cap. So I would still say be careful on any, because in my opinion, this is not done.
Not financial advice, by the way. Tom's advice.
Yeah,
Not
exactly. Weston's saying, oh, yeah, why be bullish on Bitfarms hydrogen power? I mean, that's the thing. It's like Bitfarms is very green. All the Canadian miners are, I won't say all of them, the big three are very green. I mean, they're very green. You can't almost hardly not expect any more than that out of a company. Nobody's perfect. So they basically use green energy across the board, and they're getting absolutely attacked like they're killing the earth.
So tell us about, what is this lightning thing? Maybe if you keep explaining it to me, it'll make sense to me.
So that was the other giant takeaway from the conference is Strike announced that Shopify is going to be adapting the Lightning Network. So every vendor that uses Shopify will have access to the Lightning Network, and adoption is going way beyond that. So they basically just reached critical mass adoption of the Lightning Network, and it's gonna 10,000x the number of transactions that occur on the Bitcoin chain.
Does that mean that they already have this in place?
Yeah, it's up and running. It's up and running as we speak. So, everybody isn't going to use it on day one, so adoption will continue to come over time. But this gives, hundreds of millions of people access to the Lightning Network to shop that didn't have it before. And, I think the whisper, hope was that Apple was going to switch. Apple Pay was going to switch to the Lightning Network. So I think the conference had some downward pressure on Bitcoin because there really was no wow announcement. There was a bunch of smaller announcements, and this strike announcement with the Lightning Network is a lot bigger than people think. It's just when you're expecting Apple, if you get anything else, that's, less. I'm not expecting Apple to switch to the Lightning Network. They are very proprietary. They've always done their own thing and not what others do. So I had no expectation that Apple was going to announce that. They may be the last people. They may never go to the Lightning Network. They'll make their own. They live in their own world, and that's been their philosophy from day one. The first time it took them to bankruptcy. The second time it took them to by far the biggest company in the world. So I doubt they're changing their strategy at this point in the game.
Out of all the people we met, Tom, from the CEOs and CFOs and CCOs, who was the nicest miner?
The nicest?
I think I know the answer. That's why I did it, because we just got something. Rob S. just said something, and I know who you're going to say, so.
Well, all right. I mean, who was the nicest to us? Yes, CleanSpark. CleanSpark's coming down so I can buy some more. I know, CleanSpark has had a nice pullback, and it had a huge run-up. If you search, it's not on YouTube. I guess they live streamed via Vimeo. And so they interviewed me, CleanSpark, while I was there. They were one of the main sponsors. So I ran into Isaac, and he asked me if I'd come on his show. So we did a 20-minute segment. So that was cool. And CleanSpark's great. I like CleanSpark. And I met the guy that we can tie in with, and I got his card that will give us the tour of the Georgia plant as well.
Oh, okay.
So we're still on for the tour of the Georgia plant, and because Isaac's in Las Vegas, so he's not giving us a tour of the plant. So we got that squared away.
So also this, I don't know, maybe I'm Mr. Negativity, but my theory was that more than half of those companies that were at that conference won't be here in 5 years.
Well,
in the same business that they're currently doing.
The conference was full of, so if any of you guys have ever been to a trade show of any kind, I'm used to going to builder trade shows or cabinet trade shows. It's the same thing. There's just, 200 booths from different companies that want to put themselves on the map. And yeah, like George is saying, I mean, the vast majority of those booths, I never heard of any of those companies, and I wish them well, but I'm guessing that next year there will mostly be a different group in the small to medium-sized booths.
What I couldn't believe is how many different, trading platforms were there and different type of things that were like the Cash App program.
Yeah, there was a lot, but they were tiny. There was a lot of competition in that space. There was a lot of people selling hardware, but
a lot.
We looked at the specs of a bunch of it, and it was like, it was not an S19J Pro, I'll tell you that.
I have to give a shout out to this one guy sitting in by himself, and no one probably even talked to this guy.
I know exactly
what you're gonna say. They probably thought he was, he looked unapproachable. He had the old whale on his wrist there, and he had a trading platform of trading crypto, and it's for institutions, and they're trading billions of dollars. I have a feeling that he was one of the guys, either one that funded it to start it, or two, he programmed somehow or another. We watched him buy Bitcoin right there and sell it, so what they do is they buy it in fractional segments, and they're in the process of getting that down to us little guys. He said probably by the end of the year.
He put he'll put an order in for 4 Bitcoin, but it buys it in fractions, and it shows you, your order's 32% full, et cetera, et cetera. So it's looking for the best rate. He gave us a whole speech on how it saves a lot of fees using his network versus whatever other the case may be. But it was just interesting. I mean, he was literally buying and selling Bitcoin, multiple Bitcoin, just as a demo to people walking up to him.
I don't think he really did that with everybody. You think he did it with everybody?
I don't know if he did it with everybody, but you could see the history. He had done
Yeah,
it a few
he
times.
did it. That was impressive. I mean, that he was the real deal. It was coin something, and I can't think of what the last. I'll have come up with that one, but he was probably the coolest dude. Don't you agree? Or no? I mean, he was definitely the wealthiest. Let's put it that way that we met.
Him or somebody with
Wait,
him had
yeah.
enough money to buy and sell multiple Bitcoin at will. So, and he,
That was fun. The other thing I saw that I thought was interesting is that everybody was kind of just walking in circles. Does that make sense? That they were just like walking in circles, dazed and confused.
the signage was not good.
Yeah.
So, not to get into nitty gritty, but the
No,
signage
no, but
outside
I mean,
getting people in the door was horrendous. And then once you got into the conference, that's a gigantic, I think it's 500,000 square feet. And there was not signs telling you where to go for the most part. So there were three
but
different stages. We had to find them. Later on the second day, we found out that there was a lunchroom. So, we missed lunch on the first day.
so then the I give a shout out to the coolest dude, which was Lewis. Lewis made the volcano. He set up, he was one of the people that helped set up everything, and that guy was really cool. He was really, really cool.
We happened to run into George says hello to everybody under the sun, so we happened to run into the guy. There was a giant volcano at the center of the conference room, and
That was really neat. Now, what I'll tell you what I missed. What you guys, if anybody, I should send this to you because I doubt I will ever read this book. I read some of it. So a guy wrote a book about how Bitcoin was created or discovered.
I think.
What was his word?
I'm not even going to say
Discovered or
the name of it, but he was arguing that yes, Bitcoin was not created; it was discovered. It's been there all along.
So, one night late, I'm sitting in bed and I started reading his book. And I started with a forward, right? And I start flipping through the pages. Like, wow, I really get this guy. I'm totally digging him. And halfway through the forward, Tom goes, what if that guy didn't write the forward? I said, what? He goes, I'm usually somebody else writes. No, this is definitely him. It wasn't him. But that guy who wrote the forward, he knew what was going on.
The guy who wrote the forward should have wrote the book. And let the
And
other guy...
I think I've been hanging out with Tom too much because everything that now that I look at and talk about, I'm starting to look at it through a mathematical point of view. And that really bothers me. But I hope that makes sense to you guys because I realize that mathematics plays a very big role in Bitcoin. Very big. That's why I'm not scared. By the way,
math on many levels plays a role in Bitcoin. So, and there's a lot of quantifiable metrics that you can follow. And while they can't tell you what Bitcoin is going to do on any given day, using today as an example, I did not see this. Well, I was worried about this day. I said last night that I was worried. We were struggling to hold this line. Everything was we went from bullish to kind of neutral to a little bearish. And I still think this is a short-term thing. So, I haven't switched my position. I'm still midterm, long-term, very bullish on Bitcoin. In fact, I've never been more bullish than after going to that conference. And that was not something I was expecting. I thought we'd meet some people and, do some networking and that kind of stuff. But there was some good information in there, and people weren't allowed to, or people were not afraid to say what was on their mind on the panels and the speakers. So, there was some real talk. Jeff, we did not find the new miner booth. Trust us, we looked.
I asked everybody about the new miner, by the way. Every single person I saw, hey, what about that new miner? What? What was really shocking is how nobody knew about it.
Yeah, almost everybody we asked had no idea what we were talking about. That was a big surprise. So
that was crazy. I was like, wow.
JJT, we did run into the guys at Marathon, and he's going to get us in touch with We're going to get an interview with. He did not commit as to who would interview us, so I'm not sure who it's going to be. But we talked to them for a while. They were a big sponsor. CleanSpark was a big sponsor. I mean, all the CEOs of every publicly traded Bitcoin were there. Almost all of them were on a panel at least, if not multiple. So, we got to see everybody, but only Marathon and CleanSpark had booths, and they were two of the biggest sponsors, it would seem.
I can tell you that we met a guy who lost $65 million, and he wouldn't talk about it. Because I don't think anybody really knows he lost it yet.
Yeah, there was a panel with...
You don't need to say the name of who it was.
One of the Bitcoin miner CEOs has some issues.
Yeah, he does, and no one knows. But here, I'm going to tell you what I really got from listening to CEOs, CFOs, whatever. Is they thought the money would flow their way real easy. They thought that the prices of their companies would be many, many, many digits higher than what they currently are at. Wouldn't you say that was your consensus?
I think everybody, and particularly it doesn't take long to be an experienced miner. If you've been doing this for a year and a half, you're like the old guard at this point. So those people, I think, were trying to explain a lot of these new kids on the block, if you will, are going to find out it's not so easy to raise a couple of $1 billion and, get power and machines.
So what I think you're seeing is the big squeeze, and meaning that there's going to be a lot of these companies that are either going to consolidate or they're going to go out of business. And they're probably going to happen right around the halving. They're going to have to either raise more money by issuing more stock, sell some of their Bitcoin, but they did not think that they would be still to this day traveling down that road.
Yeah, I think two things surprised them, and they mostly addressed one of them. The first thing is that they're all surprised Bitcoin's hovering around 40,000. Yeah. And even there was one guy on a panel who was, I don't know, he had a philosophy major, and he was multiple things, including he was an environmentalist and a Bitcoin enthusiast, which, usually wouldn't exist in the same universe, but he was trying to teach people, like, this narrative on the Bitcoin miners is not true. And not that energy isn't an issue, it's a big issue, but if we work together, we can upgrade the grid and get a new grid, and Bitcoin can be a big part of how we get from here to there. So, where was I going with that? Who knows?
No, but I think that, no one knew that for whatever reason, that the big dogs came after. I won't say who they said. They said a specific person.
They said several times, and sorry, my point was that even he said ESG is the reason Bitcoin's at 40,000 and not 150,000. It should be at 150,000 right now, except for the coordinated attack that's occurred on Bitcoin, and by extension, the Bitcoin miners.
Yeah, that was interesting. And Peters, you bring up a very good point. You can read it? You want me to read it?
Go ahead, yeah.
Great. Love to hear about how Marathon, how they plan to get 60K miners online and transfer a whole farm to another location that they do not have yet. That would be my question for them.
Yeah.
Well, that's an interesting question.
Well, it's dead on. They already have at least 60, if not 70,000 miners sitting around waiting to be plugged in, and now they shut down their main facility, and they're going to go move that too. And there was a lot of people there felt like they got pressured into doing something that they should not have done. And this goes back to this expectation that somehow magically, starting nobody cared about the Bitcoin miners a year and a half ago. The total market cap of all Bitcoin miners publicly traded in the world a year and a half ago was about $150 million. So there was no conversation about this. It's still very small. I'm going to do a video on that. It's still very small. It's still, all of them added up, put together, I don't think would be in one of the top 1,000 companies in the market. So it's
troubling. I don't think Marathon, unfortunately, just so you know, they wouldn't answer specific questions, and we didn't. This wasn't the time to really like corner them to get them. This was all kind of like, rah, Bitcoin's good. You know what I mean? We love the earth and we're not trying to destroy the earth. That's what this was all about. No, and this was not, we couldn't get, I mean, I hope you understand that, because that was one of the questions I wanted to ask him. And he was very disheveled if I had to give you an answer for how he looked and how he operated. But he doesn't have, I mean, I don't even know if they're going to be up this month. Didn't you say that they put out a press release that they're going to be done by the end of the second quarter?
No, they'd be aggressively doing this in the second quarter, and that they'd be caught up by the end of the year.
Yeah, that's awful.
Is what they're saying. And so anyway, to finish my thought that I lost in the middle of, now all of a sudden a gigantic light is shined on the Bitcoin mining process and Bitcoin miners, and now we went from never talking about them or caring about them to all of a sudden, all of them by December 31st, 2022 have to be 100% carbon neutral, which is an absolutely ridiculous, ludicrous expectation. There's no real example of, as an industry, I guarantee there's not one industry that's even 50% the way towards carbon neutral. So they say ESG, and I will tell you, Jamie Leverton said this on the panel, and I swear she may have taken it from one of my videos. She said, and I've said this exact same thing. She said it's a big joke. We call it ESG, and we need to stop doing that because it's E. That's it. Nobody cares what we're doing with social and governance. And the Bitcoin miners do a lot there. It means nothing. Nobody cares. They only care about the E. And the expectation on the E is that everybody very quickly needs to be perfect. And that's just not realistic, because Marathon's a great example. Like that plant they're shutting down is employing a lot of, there were Native Americans with a plant that was out of service, and, they all became employed and their community started to thrive. Well, now guess what? They're all fired.
They all got fired?
They shut the plant down. They're going to move every single one of those miners because it's a coal-burning plant. They're leaving there 100%.
Yeah, they're leaving there, but there's going to be... This was a word that was said, and I'm only repeating what this philosopher said, and he called them black miners. I don't agree with the word. I just want everybody to know.
Yeah, they had
but
a whole discussion.
There's going to be
I've not heard that term.
That there's going to be black miners that come in there and start that up again.
Well, and that what they were talking about, I think, is the miners that are, not publicly traded, that, they're not accountable to anybody. If you're privately mining, you do whatever you want, use whatever kind of energy you want. And that includes miners in other countries. And they specifically brought up, like, guys, all the stuff over in, Asia and Eastern Europe was really not green at all. But for some reason, we took everybody's word that, that was all wonderful green mining. Well, I mean, we know China's by far the biggest producer and biggest user of coal in the world. So why would we think
and
that
I think
for
they're
some
the
reason,
biggest polluter of the earth also.
It's not even close. Right.
Right, yeah. And they're exempt until 2035, I believe, right?
sometime past 2030.
Yeah, I know I think it's 2035.
Sly Dog is saying ESG FUD was started by Elon Musk. Well, he mainstreamed it, and I like some of the things he's doing at the moment, but I have a big grudge. He did that that was a calculated thing that he did on purpose, because there was no way that he invested $2 billion in Bitcoin but didn't know how it worked, and didn't know, and it only later came to his attention that there might be an issue regarding the environment. So I don't think that's how people spend their $2 billion, in my opinion.
In my opinion. Well, and you, did you talk to anybody at Hut 8? Did you talk to Sue?
No, Sue was there, and I could not find her. We saw Jamie on stage, but we didn't get to talk to her, and they did not have a booth, so we couldn't go see them.
No, I didn't. I mean, a few feet away from her.
I will tell you this. If you guys want to look up something to watch, and they are all on there, I think it's day 2 on the mining stage, and I think that's how they have them recorded. There was a panel that Jamie was on, and the CEO of Stronghold was there, and then there was apparently somebody who's very high profile. He's got a newsletter, Marty Bent or something like that. Let me know if you guys know who that is. He was the most popular guy there. I don't know who he is. And the moderator, I felt, really was very unfair to Jamie from Hut 8, and she did the best she could, but
she hammered her.
It was unreasonable.
Oh, she set it up, and they took the ball, and then she just drilled him. I mean, it was they didn't even realize they were sitting with a bear, and the trap was set.
Yeah, I mean, Hut's a publicly traded company. There's only so much she can say as it regards to the SEC. So, they want the one guy, Marty, was there going, screw the man and just say no, don't kowtow to the SEC. And it's like, you don't really kowtow to the SEC. They make a rule, and if you want to play in their game, you follow that rule. That's it. You don't have these aren't options that they're given. So whatever the SEC ends up doing, the Bitcoin miners are going to have to follow those rules, the publicly traded ones, or somehow find enough money to take themselves back private, which at this point is really, it's not feasible. So,
or it is, and we don't know it.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
It's the only way that would be feasible is if their stock crashed so horrifically.
No, I mean, Elon Musk could come in and buy the whole thing out.
Somebody else could come and buy any one of these companies very easily, but the companies themselves will never be able to generate the cash to buy all their stock back and go private, or enough of their stock to go private. Right. So
it has to be a private.
Right. This is the path they chose, and now the SEC wants to change the rules, and they're going to have to. And I think the SEC is going to be reasonable. That's the other thing. Right now, that's a huge thing keeping Bitcoin down. But we got an executive order, and it basically got the ball rolling. This was going to happen, and until it happened, because I'll tell you, Kevin O'Leary is out there. His voice is even louder than Elon Musk's for the last couple of months, bashing the miners. So, Elon Musk did one tweet, and of course the power of an Elon Musk tweet is large, but and that did get the ball rolling, but Kevin O'Leary has picked it up, and he's just hammering on these companies. And he's got a project of his own, so that's what he's doing.
I think he's off of it now. Yeah, I don't think he's really focused on Bitcoin right now.
He's going to mine Bitcoin.
Talking about Kevin?
Yeah, Kevin. Yeah, Elon's not talking about Bitcoin anymore. He loves Dogecoin, and I think he's kind of reconciled with the Bitcoin world to some extent. So, he's not a loud voice anymore, but he woke Bitcoin up and he put it back to sleep with ESG. So he does have a disproportionate amount of power via his Twitter account.
I also have another theory on Bitcoin is when it goes off, when it takes off, I don't think it'll ever come back here again. Whenever that is, I don't know if it's tomorrow, next day, week, a month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, but I think that, if we ever see I don't think we'll ever get way back down here again. Just so you guys know. That's my own personal opinion.
So Ryan's asking, why do you think the miners trading at book value with such huge growth and profits? And I think the answer is, there's a few answers, and it really is, there's some massive FUD, and it takes a couple of forms. Number one, it takes the form of ESG. I mean, the CEO of BlackRock wrote a 2-page letter, one full page of which was committed to saying, we're not going to invest in companies that aren't ESG responsible anymore. It is equally important as how profitable they are. So that could be a totally separate conversation. I'd love to debate anybody on that. Not that I don't want companies to focus on ESG. And let's call it, I mean, really, it's the environment. Again, right? Lots of companies have a lot of good social programs. They do good things for their employees, but in the big picture, we want to make sure they're not destroying the environment. And whether you're an environmentalist or not an environmentalist, I think pretty much everybody agrees everybody should try to behave responsibly. So we're all on board with that, but they've taken it and turned it into something where the John Q. public, even people investing in the Bitcoin community, think that the Bitcoin miners are destroying the earth. So that's a big factor. And then the second one is, with regulations looming, in my opinion, it doesn't even matter what the regulations are. I don't think they're going to be harsh. I think they're going to be realistic. I think they're going to mirror regulations from every other financial thing that's traded. And when they're implemented, that uncertainty will go away. And a lot of times, even if it's bad news, when uncertainty leaves the equation, these stocks will go up. Even if people don't like the regulations that got put into place, they're still going to go way up once they're actually set. And I do think the Bitcoin miners and some other very big voices, what's his name? Is it Peter Thiel, that was co-founder of PayPal? He was there, and he called right out. He said ESG is evil, and it's just there to, ruin Bitcoin. And, he's got a big voice too. So there's some people speaking out. And again, I don't think it's his opinion that people shouldn't do a good job with the environment. I think it's his opinion that people are distorting the story to make it seem like the Bitcoin miners are killing the environment. And we just need to know the truth. People should, if they knew the truth and everybody was accountable. So if everybody has to give their carbon emissions to the SEC, that was another thing they were talking about. Well, every company, if you're publicly traded, you're going to have to, release your carbon emissions. Okay. I'm okay with that.
You're going to be in shock when you see it.
Yeah. They're careful what they wish for, because there's an awful lot of... It's not the Bitcoin miners that are going to object to that and make sure that doesn't happen, because there's an awful lot of other companies where that number is going to be astronomical, and those are companies that are viewed as good companies and sorry, I'm going to say woke companies and et cetera, et cetera. And, they're going to come out with horrendous carbon numbers, and that's going to backfire. So I don't really think that's ever actually going to happen for that reason, because the Bitcoin miners will not even stand out with their carbon numbers versus so many of the other companies in the stock market.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. And then you're going to have to decide, are they going to include, like, the waste that Apple's made in China? Are they going to include any of that waste? And how do they figure it out? You know what I mean?
How do they figure it out? It's all very complicated. And then Stronghold, there's also nuances to the story. Stronghold is going to have some carbon emissions, but also, if you guys look up what they're doing, like, they're cleaning up toxic waste. So, if they clear 1 million square whatever of toxic waste, and in the meantime there's some carbon emissions in the middle, are they net good or bad? You want the sludge to continue to seep into the soil and the water. And listen, I'm not a heavy environmentalist, in the doomsday sayer, but I think that I feel like most people do. Let's be responsible. If there's a toxic mess, let's clean it up. If the byproduct of that is some carbon emissions, you got to outweigh the good with the bad and understand. And we're never going to zero carbon emissions in this world. That's not realistic.
Sorry, dude, I ain't doing good.
JM saying maybe ESG's distortion is by the big boys that want to take over, i.e. the power plants. I mean, I think that it's by the big money, it's by the big boys, and that was one of the things I made a video. Literally, the CEO of Marathon talked about an energy company potentially buying them out.
Yeah, Exxon. What did they say? Exxon Mobil was already mining Bitcoin?
At the conference, on the panel, he talked about how Exxon was already in the game. So, you start to put the pieces of the puzzle together.
And anybody looking to buy miners, just so you know, I've been really focused on maybe buying miners right now. And I could get some 104s, the S19Js, the 104s for like $7,000 a piece. But if you, at the current price, it doesn't work. And that's going to become an issue.
At Bitcoin 40,000, and that's what they know. They're punishing Bitcoin and anybody who wants to mine Bitcoin, and we can all speculate as to why that is. I still feel, like I said, my conviction is higher than ever. Ultimately, the economics of this is going to take over, and the supply of Bitcoin is going to be so scarce. It already is, I think, at an all-time low, and it's getting more and more scarce. And the more people that need to use it, the more people that need to share it. I mean, this is just, the free market will have its way. It can be bullied. This is still, despite the fact that, Bitcoin's close to $1 trillion, that is still a small amount of money, as hard as that is to imagine, in the overall market. So for a short time, they will bully it around, but eventually market forces will have their way. And there is going to be, in my opinion, a massive shortage of Bitcoin. Once the Lightning Network is fully up and running, right, all those people in the Lightning Network, they need Bitcoin. They don't just get to keep a ledger and no Bitcoin, so they need the Bitcoin, and institutions are buying and holding. The miners themselves are holding most of the Bitcoin they mine. The demand is just going up and up and up, and the supply is ever diminishing. So,
So a company... go ahead.
No, you go.
A company went out of business up in Pennsylvania. I don't know who it is. I have my ideas who it is, but... and they're selling 100 and... 130 or 140 machines, something like that. And then when you start to actually, so here's the problem now. Now you're running into the halving. March of 2024, which a little bit over a year, 18
Under
months,
2
19
years from now.
Under 2 years from now, you're going to have twice the capacity that you currently have to maintain where you are today. So Bitcoin is going to have to go up because of that. That's like, it's going to have to go up just so that they can stay in business.
Right. For the network to run, Bitcoin miners have to mine.
Right.
And Bitcoin miners are not going to mine if the Bitcoin reward is less than the energy cost that it takes to get it. So that's another big piece of the economics of this. Between the fact that right now the worldwide hash rate is growing and will continue to grow, and we know it's going to grow because we've already seen, just here in the North American miners, we know of another probably 80 exahash that's going to get added in the next 15 to 18 months.
Yeah.
So you double the exahash, you cut the reward in half. I mean, this is where George started. At some point, it's just math.
Right. And so I actually, it's a sizable investment. You have to do scale. and then you have to get it set up. You got to get your energy, every aspect of it. Versus why not just buy Bitcoin? You know what I mean? If you're going to spend $1 million at this point in time, Michael at strategy, what is
Michael
it?
Saylor.
Micro Saylor. I think he probably has the it's a stored value of wealth, okay? And it might not be at the numbers that we want it to be at this point in time, but it's going to get there. I mean, it's definitely getting there. Everybody can agree on that. I mean, there's going to be a few bumps along the road. There's no doubt in my mind. So, and then you take the risk of setting up all the miners, spending all that money, and you only generate, I think even at that, I was generating like 1 or 1.5 a month or something like that.
Now,
So,
under the current hash rate, worldwide
right,
hash
under the
rate
current
and
hash rate.
difficulty level.
Which
So-
is amazing to me. So I've been looking at ETH and mining ETH. I have not, and who knows when that's going to end or if it's going to end.
Hey, Mike.
I mean, if it ends, then I lost all that money. So I think I'm going to kind of do a combination of both. It's real interesting. I asked everybody that question. Not saying I have $1 million, but I kept asking every single person I met, hey, if you had $1 million, what would you do with it right now?
And not just in general. He was asking people, would you buy, cryptocurrency or would you mine it? And we got the variety of answers we got was fascinating. Everybody had a different answer. I mean, one guy was still banging his head. He had 4% left, and he was trying to decide what.
Yeah, it was really interesting. It was really that guy. I don't want to say anything. He's probably watching, but let's just say that you have to be very careful where you put your money. And if you want to, I mean, because we only have a small amount of money. We don't have a huge amount of money, and we have to make sure that we do everything to preserve our wealth. Because it looks like, with inflation, the cost of a cheeseburger at McDonald's is probably going to double here in the next 6 months. But with ETH, I might mind that. I don't know yet. The answer is yes. I don't know, Tom, do you hold any crypto?
I hold no crypto, and I will tell you, I am right now just going to that conference. I'm going to get some Bitcoin. Nothing else. I'm going to get some Bitcoin. So
I can tell you that I hold some other top 10 cryptos, and I believe in a lot of them. But I also know, and I'll just be, my whole problem with the whole crypto market right now is Tether, okay? And nobody will answer this question. No one will, audit them and sign their name on them. And I'm actually looking forward to some regulations, and I never thought I would say that, but I'm actually looking forward to them saying that, hey, if you have a stable coin, this is what it has to be backed by, this is the audit statement you have to do, and so on and so forth. But Tether, to me, I have a feeling is junk. I can't prove, I can't deny it. I have
confirm nor deny.
Yeah, but I think Tether, and I went deep into Tether, guys. I didn't just. When you write down commercial paper, how can you write down commercial paper as a stable coin? What in the world does that mean as commercial paper?
Everybody, don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't, please. We
Commercial
appreciate it.
paper. So, that is my biggest worry right now with Tether, and I'm talking about the USDA. What is it? The USDC Tether, not the lunar Tether. So there are different ones.
There's different stable coins out there, and I don't know where those are going to end up.
Oh yeah, Tether, the TETHER, Tether, not. You're
specifically worried about that.
Yeah,
one,
I'm specifically.
stable coins.
I am worried about that one, but then when you start digging, Binance had to start a whole new division just for the United States. And I bet you if you look into that one, there's probably something funky there too.
Well, we happen to be in the U.S., and the U.S. has a lot more restrictive rules already than most of the rest of the world. So Binance, some of the some of the big exchanges just left the United States. And a lot of them have to comply in a totally different way. So Binance decided it was easier to have a completely separate company to conduct business here. It's so different what we're expected, what people are expected to do.
And so, yeah, that's another reason why I have issues with Bitcoin right now. By the way, is with Lunar buying what they're buying and seeing the price of Bitcoin plummet like it is. That's what makes me nervous. By the way, because Lunar's really stepped in and bought a whole bunch of Bitcoin, and it doesn't. It seems like supply should be really, shrinking, but it's not. And supply always is finding a way to get back up.
In the short term, Bitcoin is not stable. The only way to have an actual stable coin is to tether it to the US dollar.
Right.
There's no other way to accomplish that. So having this diverse portfolio of things really isn't a stable coin. And if you look over the past, I mean, the stable coins right now represent that they're, 99 or 99.5 on the dollar. So, they're all within. But there have been times that they were at like 67%. So this has happened before in the past where now nobody cared because the whole crypto universe was nothing at that point. So it was not a crisis. But now that would be a different story.
And I agree with you about the dollar and tether. I agree. But you got to remember this, Mike, and here's my problem. The dollar's been around a hell of a lot longer than tether. It hasn't failed me yet. I'm not saying it's not going to, but it hasn't done it yet. Tether's been around for what, 5 years? And that whole thing where, what's the name of it? Greenwich? What, the company that went out of business in China?
Oh, now that you said those.
Greenwich or something, Greenwich or something. Greenridge. I have a feeling that they were invested deeply in them, and they will not tell anybody.
Oh, you think
and that?
You think Tether was invested in Green?
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
Let us know if we're saying that wrong.
Yeah. Birds of feather flock together. You ever hear that expression?
Yes.
Birds of feather flock together, and I bet you it's all together. And that also brings me up to the next point: is China's in a world of hurt right now, guys. China is in a world of hurt. And, with this lockdown in different cities, and they have a zero tolerance, Evergrande, and they have a zero tolerance for COVID. I don't know. It's an interesting thing what's going on in China right now. This is, unfortunately, I would tell everybody, if you don't like popcorn, I'm sorry, but I would grab some popcorn because the show's going to get started here any minute now. It's going to be interesting for the next few weeks, maybe even few months.
Hey, Corey, how are you? Welcome.
Woo!
What I want to go back to one of the things you were talking about. You were talking about Michael Saylor, and Michael Saylor, and of all people, Michael Saylor and Cathie Wood did a panel together. And he ended that. You guys may have seen, I'm sure, was the big news. He ended that, stood up and said, "No, nobody sell your Bitcoin." And in that panel, they
orange pill.
All right, that's right. That was everybody's getting orange pilled. And one of the things they were talking about inflation. So that's one of Michael Saylor's big reasons for supporting Bitcoin. The dollar is weakening, as our Mike here was talking about. And so he felt that, long term, that's where. Now, Cathie Wood long term believes in severe deflation, but she still has a bullish scenario for Bitcoin. And in their time on stage, she reiterated that her price target, and she said, go to ARK Invest and you can see my calculation. My price target for Bitcoin is $1 million by the year 2030. Now, that's only 8 years from now. So, thanks, Corey. Appreciate it.
I'm looking up her dress, just so you know, Corey.
So, I don't know that Cathie Wood is right. She says a lot of things, but that's a lofty goal. If that were to be the case, then all of us and the Bitcoin miners that survive will have hit a monster grand slam home run. And she was not the only one at the conference talking in large numbers. So there is a sentiment that we're stuck, we're going sideways. I don't really think you can call this a crypto winter, because I don't think we're going down to $8,000, but we've been sideways and down for a little while, and then we bounced back to 48,000, and I wouldn't be surprised if we bounced and retested our highs, but we haven't broken out yet like everybody expected, and the expectations were ultra high last year. Everybody expected well, not everybody, but the vast majority of people expected $100,000 by the end of the year. And then Plan B came out and nailed a couple of months in a row, and he had it at, I think, 140,000 by the end of the year. So I think he single-handedly actually reversed the course of Bitcoin to some extent, because people were mega leveraging. The third month in a row that we kind of all counted Plan B as being correct. I think people 50x leveraged, 100x leveraged.
Rug pull.
And that allowed a series of rug pulls that we're still not done with.
I mean, I honestly get very nervous the way that people will trade. And, what was that one company that said they would 50x or something crazy? It was insane what they were doing.
Somebody said, that they were... Yeah, there's places where you can 50x and 100x leverage, but you get liquidated like almost instantaneously when things go the wrong way. So I don't recommend anybody leverage anything. For those of you who know what you're doing, do whatever you want, but this is not financial advice. Kevin O'Leary.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's crazy.
Mike Robinson says, Kevin O'Leary says investment funds can't buy because there are no regulations. And I don't know that can't is the right word, but I think he's trying to show a point that, until the SEC decides what they're doing, like anything else, a lot of these large investment funds are going to steer clear of something that has uncertainty related to it. So that is true. There is 95% of the investment money is still on the sidelines with Bitcoin. And that is going to change.
It is. Yeah, I believe it will change too.
Sly Dog saying he's heard as high as 12 million per Bitcoin in the next 10 years.
Wow, 12 million?
Somebody at the conference, I can't remember who it was, said it was going to 100x. So, I don't know where it's going to go. I think it's going to be multiples larger than what it is right now. And whether we go sideways, that's why I stopped giving short-term price predictions, because I think that was really detrimental to investors. It was just getting everybody's hopes up. It was making people leverage up, and you can see this thing can go sideways for a period of time. But I do believe the economics of it will sort themselves out. The market can stay unreasonable for a long time, but typically not forever.
I think this is a dead cat bounce, by the way, and I think we're just finally going back to the end of it. Because remember, I don't know if you guys have been here for a long time, but if you haven't, I've said the market cap for crypto is going to $1 trillion. I'm still saying that. We just lost almost 500 billion in the last, week. And there's just, it's only a fear tactic. I have not changed long term. I just think that they're going to have fun. And I think, unfortunately, guys, you got to understand this is a game. To you and I, it's our life. To them, it's a game. And they get their rocks out of this. Oh, did you see what I did to Bitcoin? I mean, I can hear the conversations in my head. Oh, watch what I'm going to do. Okay, you work together with me. Let's do it. Let's dump it. And we'll buy it back. We're going to dump a whole bunch, make these guys lose their money, and we'll buy it back. It's happened time and time again in the stock market. Why do you think Bitcoin would be any different?
Ryan's saying Binance, you can 125x. So everybody, please be careful with your money. Yeah. I could see getting liquidated.
Or just tell me when to do it. If you tell me when to do it, I'll do it.
And
I had
Mike is saying,
125.
but not.
I'd lose everything.
Don't tell me you can do that. Just don't ever tell me you did it.
So run that scenario through. Let's say, for an example, I have $100,000. Okay.
It works no differently than your margin account.
But it's real time, though. Isn't this real time?
Yes, and people get. That's right. People get liquidated, and they get
But give me the
because
give me the number. So, for an example, let's say I bought Bitcoin at $40,000. Okay, and then I went 125x on it.
So let's say you bought $1 worth of Bitcoin.
I want to go big, buddy.
For the purposes of understanding the math, if you bought $1 of Bitcoin, if you had $1, then with your dollar, you could buy $125 of Bitcoin. But the problem is you now have less than 1% invested. So if there's a move down of 1%, you're liquidated.
Is that all it is? 1%?
Well, on 125x, if you 50x, then it's 2%.
Or does it go down from there?
Right. It's proportional to the... So, 25x is crazy time. For all of history and for the equities, being able to 4x was considered a very radical thing to do. So to 25x or 50 or 100x is... that's just straight up gambling, and the house is going to win.
Yeah, and then why do they get to show it?
Right. Jeff's saying the problem is that leverage gets made public so everyone can see liquidation zones. That's right. So for sure that there's going to be a rug pull. It happens every time.
Because they're laughing. Guys, trust me when I say they are laughing all the way to the bank. They're just it's a sick game, and I'm telling you, they're laughing.
We're coming up on on my screen, I think you should see, we're coming up on an 18% pullback from March 28th. So, we're getting close to 20%. And what I want to avoid, we're below this spot right here, which is not good. So some would say this is a lower low. But certainly if we go below this, we will have clearly set a lower low. So this is a monumental. It'd be nice to hold this line at 39.7, but it's going to be make or break to hold the line at 37,400-ish, in my opinion. So that's the way I'm looking at this.
So you're thinking it's going to bounce someplace between the 37 and the 39?
I'm hoping it's going to hold this line, just like I hoped it was going to hold this line and this purple line here. So I'm 0 for 4 on the last bunch, but I mean, there's nothing in the RSI or the MACD or the fear and greed index. None of those things are telling me that it's going to hold the line. I just want it to hold the line. So I'll do a deeper dive on what everything is looking like and try and get that out.
So it's the 39,692?
And it's right. And these are not exact numbers.
Right.
So somewhere around that, and you got to look at, 4-hour candles at least. So if it pops below that, that doesn't mean we're doomed. But if it starts closing multiple 4-hour candles below that, then we will have confirmed that line didn't hold. And I think, we're most likely headed to the next line.
Cool. Anybody else have any other questions before we wrap it up for the day?
Well, I hope everybody did all right. So today was my final thought will be, for the last 2 or 3 weeks, the Bitcoin miners have been lagging Bitcoin substantially. While today was the reverse. Bitcoin did worse than the Bitcoin miners for the most part, than almost every single one of them. So there's a little bit of a potential signal right there that we're getting near a bottom. That's all I got. Any parting thoughts?
My parting thoughts are this. Believe nothing, verify everything. Somebody tells you anything. The stock market's going up, verify it. Stock market's going down, verify it. Global warming, verify it.
Talk is
Global
cheap.
glooming, verify it. It just, there's so much. I think right now what we're seeing is the United States, unfortunately, people, and I'm sorry, I'm only speaking for the United States, but maybe it's the same in other parts of the country, is they're very single
World.
focused. This person has this idea, this person has this idea, and they all mesh together, and they think this one way, and that's the wrong way to think. And it's about control, guys. And I'm sorry, but that was the thing. What was that guy's name again? The guy on the panel?
Which guy?
The guy with the dude with the
No, the
hat.
guy.
Screw the guy.
Oh, and
Whatever.
Marty.
Marty. It's
Marty.
all
I
about
think it was
control.
Marty Bent.
Control or freedom. You use the words that you want to use. There he is, Marty Bent.
Now,
Maybe
why,
not.
Why would that come up? Yeah, that's it. Marty Bent. So this is his website and newsletter. TFTC.
Click on it. He was a righteous dude.
My only problem with Marty, if you're watching, was that I don't think it was fair to pound on the publicly traded, there was two CEOs of publicly traded companies. They could not join your chorus of F the man. That's
Right.
just not one of their options. That's not something they can say, even if they feel it in their bones. That's called losing your job as a CEO. So, he can do that. He does a newsletter. He mines privately, so he can say whatever he wants. So I just thought he was a little harsh on the other guys.
Oh, I had one more thing I wanted to say. What was it? I don't remember now. The miners fall. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. My prediction was May 5th of when I think that this is gonna hang out with us until the uncertainty, right around then, and it could go either way at that point in time too, in May 5th. But I'm just telling you that I think that 50% move by the Fed is really going to be a problem if they do the 50% move. I'm sorry, 0.5 basis points.
I think they'll do the 50 basis points. I think that is accepted at this point. People might freak out, as they usually do, either the day before or the day of, or both. They use the Fed as an excuse to move the market in large directions. So I think you're right. Somewhere around those days, there'll be massive, massive volatility. But the reality is, I would be very surprised if they did anything other than a 50 basis point move at this point on this next go around.
So, and I think that unfortunately Bitcoin is still going with the NASDAQ, and I think sometime this year that will separate. I pray it separates.
I cannot find any logical reason. I mean, it is absolutely true that Bitcoin and the NASDAQ are somehow being traded together. I think a part of that is just a misunderstanding of a lot of these funds viewing it as big tech, and Bitcoin is not big tech, but it's trading that way right now. But I feel strongly, I don't know, like George said, I don't know if that's a month from now or 6 months from now. Those will separate and never to meet again, in my opinion, before the end of the year.
Did we ever meet anybody from Bitfarms at the conference?
No.
I don't remember seeing anybody. I remember seeing anything about them.
I don't think we met anybody from Bitfarms at the conference.
No.
No, I was confused. We're going to actually have an interview with Bitfarms next week, I think. But we did not see them at the conference. I didn't see anybody from them on any of the panels at the conference, so I don't know that for a fact. But that was pretty much the one miner that I did not see there.
Yes, Seth, I always find that interesting. They have the know. They have the know.
Hey, Seth, how are you?
They know. They know. Whoever they are.
Interesting how the Fed chairman sold trading in the stock market at the top of the market. Yeah, go figure, right?
I mean, I don't think they should be allowed to do anything with trading stocks, personally. I think if you're a public servant, you're going to run for Congress. That should be one of the things you should give up. We know none of them will.
Well, and he's talking about the actual Fed.
I know what he's talking about, but I'm just saying if you're going to run and anybody in the government, they shouldn't be allowed.
I know and I thought back in the day it was like an unspoken rule that people would, put themselves into at least into a fund or something that represented the market as a whole versus picking winners and losers, because that doesn't seem fair. But who said life was fair?
Let's see what it is before we go.
All right, so this is on the daily. So
Look
this
at
is
that.
today.
Oh my God.
Today, bad.
Why did I tell you that?
Not good. But let's go to the 15-minute and see if there's any progress. So we're just fighting this line big time right now. So we've lost the last 4 fights in a row. Let's see if we can hold this line. That's my last thought.
Are you going to stream again tomorrow or no?
Calling
you out, Tom.
You want to do a stream tomorrow?
No, I'll be driving. I don't think I can do it, but
that's right.
I have a hard time believing it's going to stop too.
If you guys are interested in a stream, I'll do a quick stream tomorrow, maybe like a 30-minute stream or something, because I want to get. I went to that conference and didn't get a lot of my videos out, so I'm really backlogged on videos that I want to get, and now I got people complaining, how come you didn't do a video on cores? And it's like, well, I'm gonna do it. I was just gone, so I want to catch up on my videos.
Can you guys do me a huge favor too? Last thing, and then sorry to ask for stuff. Can you post, if you guys do any financial things, can you post time anywhere else? Because we're really trying to get to we got to break 10,000 before there's some algorithms that will change on YouTube for talking investing. So please.
Yeah.
Oh, have Seth on.
Want to be on the show? Oh, on the live stream?
Go to the thing, Seth, and fill out an email. Send it over.
Yeah.
We never told anybody.
Seth is in the Discord.
Oh yeah, you're in the Discord. Just text him, or Discord him. Is that still called texting?
We are too old to answer that question.
See you guys. Have a great evening.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Thanks so much for watching.
Oh, look at that. Oh my goodness, it's peeling down.